Hello, everybody. Thank you for excusing how I look. I just ran my fingers through my hair. It's not tangled or anything, but it's like wild. It's going crazy, and it's not. Running my fingers through my hair is not helping. I am still a little under the weather. I talked about it a little bit in my other two videos, but not much. So thank you for being patient with me. And again, I'm just having a lot of fun being at home and filming these videos. So today I'm going to be talking about some Egyptian Marvel characters. Now, I'm kind of focusing on superheroes, but it ended up being like a lot of villains too. So just characters, and some are some recent ones, and some are some old ones, and some we know about, and some we don't. So comment down below who you know, who you don't know, and who you want to know more about. I just want to say for disclaimer that I'm not Egyptian, and I don't know um, a lot of things about being Egyptian. I only know a little bit of Egyptian spirituality, specifically Kemetic paganism. I don't practice that, I just know some things about it. And I know, just a little bit about Egypt. I love learning about different cultures and places in the world, but I'm by no means an expert. And so in this video, I'm not going to be focusing on that when it comes to these characters at all. I'm just gonna kind of tell you about them and introduce them to you briefly. So just expect that. So the first Egyptian Marvel character that I'm going to be talking about is Moon Knight. Now, a lot of us already know who Moon Knight is. There was a TV show that Marvel put out, and that you can watch on Disney Plus. It was a sensation. A lot of people loved it. I loved it, and it was about the character Moon Knight. That was my introduction to the character, actually. My older brother loved Moon Knight, one of his favorite Marvel characters, but I just never really knew about him beyond the name. But so I learned about this character originally through the TV show, which I feel like a lot of us have, so his popularity has definitely gone up. Now, the interesting thing about Moon Knight is he isn't an Egyptian god, unlike some Marvel characters, but instead he gets his powers from an Egyptian god. Um, so he gets his powers from Khonshu, who you also learn about in the TV show. So I'm not going to say much about him. I haven't covered him in this video, mainly because I'm thinking about doing like a whole video about him. So comment down below if you'd like to see that. And in some ways, some people would say that Moon Knight is a character who has dissociative identity disorder, but in many cases, that's actually not true, depending on the comics and the media that you consume. He's actually just known to have, I guess, an alternate personality, thanks to his powers. So it's a little complicated. Again, it does actually just kind of depend on what you're reading, just because I've seen different things, and I'm no Moon Knight expert, so feel free to comment below what you know about his history, and his non-superhero name. Feel free to just comment that, and maybe I'll do a video on him too. Scarlet Scarab is a very interesting character. A lot of people are referring to her as the first female Egyptian superhero, which is true, but Scarlet Scarab is not originally female. That's an interesting fact that I think a lot of us don't know. Originally, that character was a male character in Marvel Comics, and thanks to the new Moon Knight TV show where she first appeared, we're now getting her debut comic issue, Moon Knight City of the Dead. That will be the first official comic where Scarlet Scarab is a female Egyptian superhero. So, unlike Egyptian history, Akhenaten in Marvel is actually the sun god, originally named Aten. And he is basically a supervillain in Marvel Comics, to the point where even Thanos has teamed up with other superheroes that we know and love to defeat him. Um, he is a character that does have still dimension to his story and his lore, and still references Egyptian lore and culture as well. But he uh, definitely is one of those characters who does bad things for good reasons at specific points. And I've included a link if you want to learn a little bit more about him. It does take some research. It is a little weirdly worded, so I apologize if I misinterpreted anything. But I still recommend definitely checking that out. So, Asp is a very interesting character, and as you can see, she's kind of an older style comic book, meaning that she was drawn before Scarlet Scarab. Excuse me. She was drawn before Scarlet Scarab, and a lot of us may be thinking like, how is Scarlet Scarab then the first Egyptian superhero? Because Asp is a super villain. There is actually a DC version of her. Not really a DC version, I shouldn't say it like that, but there is an Asp in the DC universe who is a male, a different character completely. So if you search that up, you might find him as well, who I might cover in another video. Um, but she is actually um, part of the Serpent Society, and has actually been put up against Captain America more than other heroes. Even though Captain America obviously is an Egyptian. I don't really know the character's roots. I didn't look that far into it. But it is still kind of cool to see during that time era, at least, that that is who she is fighting up against, and that she has some other friends and foe who we also know and love and recognize. For example, she has teamed up with Cable and, excuse me, Deadpool before. And on top of that, she was also the founder of Bad Girls Inc. And in that, I guess, villain group and also Serpent Society, she worked with people like Black Mamba, who many of us may know and recognize, Sidewinder, and Diamondback. So she has the connects. So if you haven't heard of her, I definitely recommend looking more into her. I think I'm gonna try to find an issue of just a comic title, I guess, that has her in it and putting it on this slide. If I don't find it, maybe I will make another video about her. She just looks really cool in my opinion, so I want to learn more about her. Next, we have Alexei Scarab, who is also referenced as Dr. Alexei Scarab, and his roots are pretty interesting. So, he is an Egyptologist in modern day, but in the past, he was the descendant of Nephris, who was a scheming priest who planned to take over a pharaoh. And he's also immortal. And he's not entirely human. I would say he's pretty undead. He never completed the mummification process. And he was formerly known as the leader of the Swarili people. So he has a long and, well, I wouldn't even say long, I would just say profound history of revolt and leadership. And so it's really interesting to me that I haven't heard of this character before. I don't think he's used that often, but he had to go on this list. And of course, last but not least, we have Seth, who some of us might actually recognize. He is the Egyptian god of death, at least in Marvel Comics. And, excuse me, he is the same type of god as Khonshu. Except he kind of fights his own battles. He doesn't give his powers to other people to fight for him. But he is the god of death, and he's even collaborated with the Roman god Pluto, the Norse god Hela, and other death gods to try to quote quote expand the realm of death. Um, I don't know what that means, but I'm literally gonna go like read that after this video because that sounds really cool. And as someone who enjoys different mythology, such as Greek and Norse mythology, I have to go find out what the heck that is about. And he's actually known as a foe to Odin and Thor, and sometimes even Loki. He actually lost his hand, which you can see in the picture, that he has kind of a metal covering and he doesn't have a hand anymore. He lost that in a battle with Odin, which I believe is referenced in other media, but don't quote me on that because I was not a big Thor fan for a while, so I kind of didn't pay attention. And for in this video, I just kind of want to plug in again that this issue that has come out of Scarab's debut, it looks amazing. It looks phenomenal. And I think it'd be a great place to start learning more about these characters, especially since Moon Knight and Scarlet Scarab will be in future MCU films. So July 19 actually hasn't come out yet. That's gonna be coming out. My apologies. But July 19, you can get the issue. I put up a link so you can read more about it. The writer is Pepozzi. I could be pronouncing that wrong. And the artist, who I could also be pronouncing his name wrong, is Rod Reyes. And again, it's called Moon Knight City of the Dead. So I highly recommend checking it out. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more art and there's going to be connection to the MCU. So yeah,